What's going on, guys? J-Hoy back with you today. I'm bringing you episode number 28 of the Be a GM series. So in last video you saw we made a bunch of trades. We made our team probably a little bit better in certain ways and kind of revamped our team. Now in last offseason, I believe it was, I went and made a lot of moves for our defense specifically. And basically what it resulted in is we had 6 really good offensive-minded scoring guys, but our third line of Mayerov, and I don't remember who else was there, are good young players, but they didn't perform as much as they wanted to, or as much as you needed them to, because they're playing the third line. They don't get that time, they don't get that, power play, the whatever. So what I did in the offseason is made a ton of trades. Now, you may not like them, but we've already done them. So on our screen, or on your screen I should say, we have the first line returning yet again. I like this line. I don't know why it's not performing, but I just want to see at least start out with it. Maybe halfway through the season or so we'll switch it around. But either way, Hoffman, Turris, and Ryan returning once again. And then we have Palat, Zibanejad, Oshie. Then we have first time ever Dylan Strome finally has the overall to be up in the NHL at an 84. So we also did get Sam Bennett through a trade and Daniel Sprong through another trade. And then we brought up Matt Pumpel, who's been down the AHL, Curtis Lazar, who's been, kind of on the rocks, playing on the fourth line down the AHL, depending on who we have up here. And this guy, I'm so excited to see this guy, Cal Babich or Babich or whatever. But this player's been playing in the AHL. We drafted him first round, 17 overall, put up pretty good numbers last year, playing on like the fourth line or something. And overall, his stats and his overall and everything there. Now, I know I'm the first person to say it's not all about the stats, but this player is definitely ready for the NHL. So this season we went with more of a 3 top lines of scorers, playmakers, that type of thing, and then we went with more of a 2-way forward, except for Matt Pumpel, but whatever. And then to our defense. Now I did get rid of Keith Yandel, and I got rid of our third line sort of. But we did move CC up to the first line, so now he's paired up with Erik Karlsson. So hopefully that dynamic duo can get it done on the first line. So Jake Gardner, I felt like he could contribute more to our team. Now, I know he's a little bit younger, and he's making about the same as Keith Yandel, but in the offseason, we were kind of fighting cap a little bit, so I had to get rid of him. And then we added Mayerov, obviously a young player. He's, 22, 23, 21 even, but he's a great young player. He's offensive-minded. I know he didn't do too great last year, but like I said, he was playing the third line. But anyway, then we have Joe Morrow, who I believe was in the AHL or something last year, or depth or something. Then we got Eric Gudbranson, whatever. And a big defenseman guy, so I don't really expect too many points out of him, but he still has the stats in order to play on that third line and do well for us. But then in net, we have Robin Leonard returning yet again, and we have Patrick D. Now, you may be wondering why Patrick D is in the starting spot. Now, when he best lines it, when I first do it, I best lines it, get all the best players in, and then I go from lines and do it from there. But when I best lines it, he actually was put in the backup role, so I'm not sure what it is there. But either way, if Leonard starts struggling or Diaz starts struggling, we obviously can trade them. So if Diaz starts going off and Leonard's not doing too hot, then we're probably just going to trade him because, Robin Leonard, he's been here his whole career so far. He's making a bunch of money. He's gotten us to the playoffs, but has never really succeeded for us. I know Craig Anderson and whoever else we had didn't help too much either. But Patrick Diaz, young player, rough start to his career, but in and out of the NHL and the AHL, so we want to give him a chance, but his overall hasn't really proven him yet. So I did obviously do all the rest of the lines, but I'm not going to show you those. And the AHL is set also. So basically what's happening now is we're just going to start the season and see how it goes from there. But our team has started out so great, but then so bad at the same time. Now, if you remember, a couple seasons ago, or last season or something, we traded Hunter Shinkarik and Jakob Silfverberg for TJ Oshie. Now, last year, TJ Oshie played on our second line with us. Played, or I shouldn't say phenomenal, but played pretty well on the second line, but didn't really have everything else around us, and didn't really have the right pieces with him. So now, hopefully this year, I move Zibanejad on the second line, and we have Palat there. So Palat being a playmaker, more of a playmaker than a sniper, should help us out. Now, Strome, 2 goals in first 2 games. Wow. Alright, so we're just going to go to the start of January. I know it's a couple days after, but whatever. But Mayerov and Strome, the guys that we just brought up, and we get them a real shot this year, are finally, putting up points for us. So, like I said, Shinkarik and Silfverberg, we had them, they weren't performing, and then we traded them. Now, in that trade, we picked up a young guy, and we picked up TJ Oshie. So, I like to see that, our players are performing after all these trades, because if they're not performing, then why are they still here? Because we always get these players that I usually find that are good and they're young and they're, putting up points, but they don't end up performing for our team for whatever reason. Now, we can get to the playoffs. We've gone there every single season so far, but there's only one stat that hasn't changed. It's the first round exit in the past 6 years. So now this series is probably going to wrap up in the next couple of seasons or so, because NHL 16 is coming out and I want to get some other videos out for you guys. But with the first round exits, I don't want to keep playing it if it's just going to be the same thing after it, or same thing, because we could be up like 3-0 in the playoffs and we lose 4 straight. We could be, dominating this team and still come out on the bottom somehow. Now, I know it could be the players we have, it could be the goalie, it could be whatever. But one thing to actually notice, I just realized, Patrick D, 4 wins already. Now, that only means Leonard has 2. So is Leonard actually performing, or is he actually struggling? Because if he's struggling, I'm probably just going to trade him, because he's making a ton of salary, and we have to sign Dia next year. So now we can always restrict him, but odds are someone's going to try to match that, or try to give him an offer that's going to be like somewhere around like $6 million at like 2 or 3 years or something that we probably can't afford. So if I can get rid of Leonard or somebody else with a big contract, that would help tremendously. So we're basically 8-5 to start out the year. Carlson and Turris leading the way in points. Hoffman in plus minus. Joe Morrow in penalty minutes, so I don't really know why that's happening. And then Dia still with 6 wins. So Leonard got another one. So I don't know if they're really getting equal playing time or what, but I do want to check it here quite soon, because we are doing good. But when you see these other teams, like we start out the season against the Rangers, and now they're struggling. So is it just our team is doing well in the Eastern Conference right now? Or is it just we finally found a way to win earlier in the season? Because we always start out a little bit slow in like the first month, and then we start to pick it up. We do real well, and then we start to not struggle, but we start to not slack off either. But, progressively get worse towards the end of the season goes, and we end up making the playoffs, but we end up always putting ourselves, out in the first round. So with this team, I do like it, because we have Dylan Strome now. We drafted him in the first year, so it's taken him 5 years to get up here. Now, last year, he was an 80 overall, but I didn't really want to put him on the 4th line, if that makes sense. Because, a young playmaker does not deserve to be on the 4th line in the NHL. Now, he deserves to be in the NHL, yes, but with him on the 4th line, it's not going to give him the points. That's why, Mayarov didn't do so great last year. Or, Lazar's never really done good, because he's always been on the 4th line. Now, I know Lazar's a two-way forward, and Strome's a, playmaker, but in this game, sometimes the roles are wrong, because if you look at Mike Hoffman in real life, he can basically do it all offensively. Now, he may not be the complete player two-way, but he can put up points, he can, pass the puck pretty well, and he can shoot really well. But he's listed as a playmaker on the game, so you'd expect him to just, pass crazy and pass it to all your snipers. And, I don't really like the roles in this game, honestly. Now, I know you don't really have to have designated scorers in order to, put up points, but you got to look at how much points they actually contribute towards your team and not their roles, because I do that a lot, where I don't like a double sniper on a line, or I don't want a double playmaker or a triple playmaker even, or a two-way forwards or something like that. I always, focus on a role like Bobby Ryan and, Turris and Hoffman. You got a playmaker, sniper, right? But Hoffman's more of a scorer. Wow, do we really just lose 10-3 to Carrot? What? I don't know what happened there, guys. But Bobby Ryan leading the way in goals. Gardner, wow, 17 assists already. That's kind of surprising. But, Dia, 9 wins. So I got to check that in just a second. But Dia with 9 wins already. 5 wins for Robin Lehner. You got to think, why isn't Robin Lehner playing a little bit more? Because he is in that starting role, but I don't know if they just kind of switch it each game, or if they switch it to where the overall is better or what. Because I don't really know how that system works. But there's no real system to say who's got like a hot streak, or who's like doing well, or who's got a cold streak going or something like that. So you don't really know any way of telling that. But Dia, 10 wins already. Robin Lehner has 6. We're not doing terrible, but then again, I gotta think, maybe even at the deadline. I know Robin Leonard has 2 years left, so maybe we'll trade him in the offseason or at the draft or even at the deadline. Just try to get something for this team. Probably just trade for a backup goalie and something else. Maybe a defenseman or a depth guy or a pick or something. But you don't want to keep them on a contract too long, because if they're not performing, then there's no sense of keeping them, like I said earlier. So I mean, we have Patrick Dia, 88 overall, young guy, still performing. He's on entry level contract right now, but next year we have to pay him, or in this offseason, whatever you want to say. But 2011 and 3, we kind of were in the similar spot last year. Don't really know what to think about that. But Hoffman leading the way in goals, Gardner in assists. So, that's the second line left-handed or left defenseman in Gardner. Hoffman's playing the first line with Turris and Ryan. So, goals, I want to see more out of Bobby Ryan. So maybe I'll put Palat up there and put, Hoffman down. Now, I know Hoffman's performing, but you still need to balance out your scoring a little bit. Now, I know we were always really good at depth scoring and, keeping that up during the playoffs, but it hasn't really worked. So if we're not getting that depth scoring anymore, then obviously we're doing something wrong. But, with a couple games left, I'm kind of interested to see how this finishes out. So there's a big win against Dallas, and we got another big game against St. Louis, which is the team we traded Shinkarik to, and he's actually not outperforming Hoffman, but, has the same points as Hoffman. So it's kind of interesting to see that. Because when you look at all the people we've traded, you obviously don't really want to see them succeed with their teams because they did so bad with you. But, it's like, how are they performing there when we have a better team here? It's kind of the same thing. So let's go check our centers real quick. So Turris, what the heck? So whatever. Let's just start in the order. Kyle Turris, 28 points. Okay. Sam Bennett playing the third line. Kind of interested to see that. 24 points. Only 4 under Turris. So okay. Strome's playing the third line left wing. So that's pretty good third line numbers. But then you have Zibanejad. It's always been a questionable player for me because he had a couple of really good years, right? He was playing the second line or first line, playing with a Hoffman and a Ryan or something like that. But now he's playing with Palat and TJ Oshie. But if you look at one thing, look at the goals. 32 goals, 34 goals, 27. He's always been a scoring center, even at a two-way forward. So that's why I figured if you put who's with him? You got a Palat and a TJ Oshie with him. You expect all of them to, feed each other the puck and, score. But if he's putting up that low of points, maybe we move Bennett up and put Zibanejad on the third line or something. Or even trade Zibanejad and, get a really good, third line left wing or something to do with that aspect. But then Curtis Lazar playing the fourth line, still good numbers there. I mean, that's one under Zibanejad there. But Hoffman, 27 points, kind of the same. We're getting a little bit of depth scoring, which helps, and we got Palat, 18 points on the second line. So maybe we have to shake up that second line, I feel, because, I mean, he's just not doing it. But Bobby Ryan, 33 points. I want more goals out of him, so maybe we shake it up, put him on the second line, and move TJ Oshie up, because he is actually declining. Now, I know he's only 33. He's got 2 more years on his contract, but, you got to shake things up if things aren't working well. So 21 points for TJ Oshie. Okay, Daniel Sprong, need a little bit more out of you, and Babbage might swap you up to the third line. Not exactly sure quite yet. But here we go, the defenseman. This is what I was really interested to see. So Gardner and Carlson, CC and Mayerhoff are our top 4. Now all of them have 16 plus points. And you see what I mean now. 6 and 5 points through 39 games. That third line does not even come close to the amount of points that you need. Like I was trying to get to the last couple of years with 6 really strong offensive-minded defensemen. And it just didn't work. So obviously I went out and we've had Joe Morrow, good depth guy, good good overall to have there, and Eric Gudbranson, a guy we got in the trade, but I don't really know what to think about that. I mean, that's good numbers from most of them, but I need a little bit more. So here's a good question. Okay, so neither of them are not performing, but there's a big games play gap. So I'd like to move that down. Like, it should be like about 25-20, being that close in overall. So 15 and 12 from Dia. That's still good, being the higher overall. 8 and 2 from Leonard. That's perfect numbers for what he's doing. 23 goals in 10 games. Okay, so he's stopping a lot of pucks. He's seeing a lot of shots. So that's still good that he's keeping us in the wins part of it. So 84 goals in 32 games. Yeah. could do a lot better. So he's basically 50-15 with the overtime losses. So, you know, I don't really know what to think about that. But I'm going to check the AHL stats on my own, and then I'll cut to when we start back up the simulation. So, we're back. Now, what I did do was go and change some lines. Now, I was thinking a lot about it. And basically what I did is what I said I was going to do. Now, I moved Oshie up to the first line and put Bobby Ryan on the second line. Move Bennett up from the third line and put Zibanejad down. Now, the reason is because Ryan, you know, is a known scorer, but playing alongside Hoffman that is performing, you got to look at, he's more of a scorer, then you got a playmaker, a two-way forward there. So, okay, they should do well together. Then you have two playmakers in Bennett and Palat, and then you have Ryan, who's a known scorer. And then you have the third line now, which, you know, is a questionable line because you have an 88 overall play on the third line, which isn't usual because he probably should be playing on our first line, to be honest. But if he's not performing either on the second line, he doesn't deserve a spot on the first line. So now he's playing with Sprong and Dylan Strome. Now, when you look at our team, it's a little bit better. But again, the roles that I don't really like. But then nothing happened on our defense and nothing happened on our goalies. But, you know, I think I'm going to wrap it up here, guys. I know it's a little bit of a shorter episode, but I'm trying to keep it a little bit shorter than usual instead of trying to yap on and, you know, talk about boring stuff and just try to keep it entertaining. But we end the, you know, half the season at 23-13-3. So Hoffman leading our way in goals, Gardner in assists, and then you have Gardner in plus-minus as well, and Bobby Ryan leading the way in, you know, penalty minutes, and Dia leading the way in wins. So where are we in the standings? We are second. So we're, you know, fighting with Toronto and Montreal, the Battle of Canada there, only by 2 points. You know, so you know we basically got top four of, you know, of those teams, and we have, you can see the rest of the league isn't doing too great either, but the Western Conference seems to be doing about the same. So next video, you'll see, you know, all up to the probably trade deadline where we think about trading maybe Leonard, maybe Zibanejad, because they both have pretty big contracts that we could get rid of, or somebody that's actually performing. So maybe we get a left wing, a defenseman, and backup goalie, whatever. But either way, you'll have to stay tuned to find out. But either way, guys, if you are liking this series, please leave a like, comment what you you know, thinking, because I do appreciate all the feedback, and subscribe for more. Anyway, guys, I'll see you later.